There was a sectarian Jewish teacher living in Palestine during the first century called Joshua or Jesus. He had nothing at all to do with the crucified Christos of Paul's theology, thus had no part to play in the formation of that distinctive amalgam of faiths that eventually swept the world. I believe that the innocent collection of tales and sayings which was apparently allowed to pass freely among the beleaguered selves of believers, in hourly danger of discovery and execution, was but a cover story. We're dealing with myth, not history. Whether there ever was a Jewish messianic pretender named Joshua or Jesus who was crucified at the instigation of his fellow countrymen in the procuratorship of Pontius Pilate, we shall probably never know. It hardly matters. The inner councils of the Church were aware of secret writings which were not to be promulgated even among the faithful. As the 2nd century church father Clement of Alexandria said, not everything that is true needs necessarily to be divulged to all men.
It's no secret that Christmas parties and New Year's parties promote inebriation with the celebration, or at very least, a toast. Inebriation is part of the most traditional celebrations, and it may not surprise you to learn that the combination of inebriation and celebration dates back to our tribal ancestors. What may surprise you, however, is the fact that modern-day religion also has direct ties to ritualistic inebriation. These rituals and celebrations throughout antiquity were often annual events, and these annual events were marked by particular celestial alignments.
Plants and humans have shared this planet together for millions of years. Plants have been our never-ending source of food, and clothing, and shelter. And each day, as we see the sun rise, we know that the sun sustains our life, and it sustains the lives of our plant allies. However, this magnificent story of the yearly cycle of the sun and the cycles of the moon and the stars and the plants have become hidden. These stories have been suppressed for so long that they've become mythology. And there is another extremely important human-plant relationship that has been overlooked for so long that it's become taboo. We've laid claim to the term inebriology, which up until now has been this fictitious field of study and a term used by drunken college students, but we couldn't think of a better word to describe a study pertaining to the symbolism and the history of ritualistic and celebratory inebriation. This involves an in-depth study of shamanism and the sacred plants themselves. Plants, mushrooms, and various plant combinations have traditionally been used by the shaman, or the medicine man, for many millennia for healing, for extremely deep levels of meditation, and in their ceremonies, in their rituals, and rites of passage as well. All of it hidden in language, artwork, myth, and tradition. And a focus on this artwork, myth, and tradition will guide us on our journey through the ancient mysteries, combining the understanding of plant knowledge with celestial knowledge.
The older medieval cathedrals were often called mystery schools, and the mystery schools were primarily used for religious, mystical, and even scientific study. However, there were no congregations. They were not open to the public. Mystery schools were structured similar to the way Freemasons structure their teachings. One enters as an initiate, much like a fraternity, and was often sworn to secrecy. In fact, we still have fraternities and sororities that stem from these ancient mystery schools. Modern education's 12 grades and mortar boards stem from this ancient knowledge.
In my recent books, in particular The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth, and the forthcoming Physician Heal Thyself, I've tried to demonstrate something of the multi-layered structure of the Gospel narratives and teachings. Their decipherment is difficult, and was intended to be so, just as the Essene secrets were not for the eyes of the uninitiated. Even their written works were wrapped up and hidden in caves, or in the final emergency simply wrenched apart and thrown into a secret underground chamber. Their most vital mysteries were never committed to writing, as Josephus makes clear, but passed only by word of mouth under awful oaths of silence.
These mystery schools would instruct their members by way of elaborate dramas, using a play or a metaphor as a method of initiation and education. So let's begin with one of the oldest teachings to ever emerge from the mystery schools, on earth as it is in heaven. And another way of making this statement is to say, as above, so below. It's an acknowledgement of the polar opposites, light and dark, good and evil. This is yin and yang, the macrocosm and the microcosm. And philosophy, alchemy, and many other ancient teachings speak of this macrocosm and microcosm. That which is above is also below. And this relationship of polar opposites is one of the most essential and the most overlooked elements in understanding ancient philosophy and religion. The greater and the lesser, the positive and the negative, heaven and hell, the macrocosm and the microcosm. These polar opposites are in perfect balance with one another. And you can think of the macrocosm-microcosm relationship like octaves on a piano. They may vibrate at different frequencies, but they still work in harmony together.
This is a representation of the Yggdrasil tree, which portrays the concept that which is above is also below. The tree has branches and leaves above ground, and it has branching roots burrowing underground, the chthonic realm. As in the heavens, so on earth. This dualistic philosophy has been applied all throughout antiquity in religion, alchemy, and mysticism.